Hi, and welcome back for another daily dose of anime recaps. In this episode, we'll be covering the first 3 episodes of the newly released anime, Blue Lock. It has been a dream for Japan to win the World Cup, but that dream has never become a reality. As a result, the Japanese Football Union hires the soccer enigma Ego Jinpachi. His big plan is to create the best team and the best striker in the world, all by using the Blue Lock training facility. Yoichi Isagi, an unknown high school soccer player, takes the plunge and joins the program to be the best player in the world. Before we begin, don't forget to smash that subscribe button and hit that bell button so you never miss an update from us. Right into the start of the episode, we can see Ichinan high school striker Isagi Yoichi dodging through a number of players of the opposite team. If they win this game, it would send them straight to the nationals, a dream every high school soccer player wants. Isagi paces through the defenders, leaving them eating his dust. No one could stop him. With seconds away from scoring, Isagi catches one of his teammates, Tada-kun, from the corner of his eye. Tada calls for the ball so that he could tap it in and they could equalize. The decision was up to Isagi to either play the hero or play as a team. Isagi passes the ball and plays as a team, but his dreams are crushed when Tada-kun misses and allows the opposition to counterattack and score. The goal is scored by Kira Ryasuke and sends his team into the nationals. With his head bent low, Isagi and his teammates get an emotional talk from their coach, who starts crying like a child, snot and tears mixed together. A dark cloud hovers over Isagi, who feels responsible for passing and not taking the shot himself, along with all the glory. His poker face could tell what he was thinking. From a young boy, Isagi's dream was to become a star striker for his nation, and this determination drove him to practice every day. But it seems the dreams will stay dreams. His walk back home is a painful one, where he recounts the missed opportunity, and this leads him to scream out his frustration, followed by tears. Back home, his mom cooks him pork cutlets, but what he gets after the food is what surprises him. A letter from Japan's Football Union that says he's been selected as a certified athlete and must report the next day. Smiles everywhere, Isagi reaches the Football Union the next day and bumps into Kira Ryasuke, the striker who scored against his team in the qualifiers. Kira's positive attitude really gets Isagi to feel that he's a pretty decent and neat guy. They both enter the facility and are met with over 300 people already standing in the room before them, and not just any people, but some of the best high school soccer players they could imagine. The light dims out, and from behind the curtains appears a man with a weird-looking haircut called Ego Jinpachi, the man hired to make Japan win the World Cup. Jinpachi talks proudly of his plans to pull out only one best striker from amongst the 300 candidates and take him to stardom. His ideas and plans don't sit well with Kira, who appeals to them along with the others. But to be the best striker is Isagi's dream, and he races through the doors of Blue Lock to prove to everyone that he is the chosen one. He's followed by the other candidates as well, who have a thing or two to show. And so begins Jinpachi's plan to create the best striker in the world. At Blue Lock facility, Isagi gets a player number 299 shirt and is sent to stay in room Z. On entering, he's met by uninviting eyes of other players wearing the same uniform with numbers on them. He does see a familiar face, and it's none other than Kira, who meets him with a smile. After changing and seeing the different members in the room, Isagi sees a player with number 300 written, named Igarashi Gorimu, whose family owns a temple. Moments later, Jinpachi's face appears on a large screen, and he explains the numbers are based on his biased decision of a player's capabilities. The players can improve their number while completing challenges and eliminating other candidates. The top 5 would be chosen to play in a match 6 months from now and registered as forwards for the U20's World Cup. But if they lose any time, they will not be allowed to play for the national team. For their first challenge, they're to play with a ball using only their feet. Once the timer of 136 seconds ends, the tagged person will be eliminated. Igarashi is the first one tagged, and he tries his best to kick the ball to someone else. He tries to play dirty by kicking it on the guy sleeping, but instead gets kicked in the face. Seconds running by, Igarashi manages to hit Kunigami, who out of anger kicks it with full force on Isagi, who was held by Igarashi. The game of tag goes on, and Isagi has to tag someone else. He corners Igarashi and almost tags him, but instead plans to tag a stronger opponent. His wish is granted when the sleeping man goes utterly berserk and snatches the ball himself to pin Kira. Thus, the two corner Kira, and with utter force, Isagi kicks the ball straight on Kira's face. The timer ends, and Kira is disqualified. Blood and sweat pours down Kira's nose, and he can't believe what just happened to him. Staring with blank, unbelievable eyes at Isagi, he asks what he just did to him. Isagi tries to defend himself, but is stopped midway by the angry and frustrated screams of Kira. In another place, Henri-chan looks disappointedly at the newspaper, which shows that Japan has once again lost in the qualifiers and couldn't progress as far as the round of 16. This is unacceptable, but we get to see a different picture from the other members of the board, who just care about the money and not the future goals of the nation. Henri-chan, determined to change the outcome, had proposed that they bring in Jinpachi and the Blue Lock facility to create the best striker. We're back to the disappointed looks and heartbreak between Kira and Isagi. Jinpachi's face appears on the screen once again, and this time he tells Kira that he is not fit to be a striker and should leave the facility. Kira questions the whole concept of this pathetic game of tag, his frustration getting the best of it. Jinpachi explains how everything about Blue Lock is related to soccer. From the room they stand in, which is designed the same size as the penalty area of a real game, to the tactics that were used while playing tag. If he was running and escaping the ball, then he was looking for spaces to run into and escape being tagged. Here, his vision was very important. Then came the part where he had the ball and had to shoot with precision and power to tag another player. But since he lacked the ability to do any of these things, or even take up 1 second that was left on the timer to kick the ball on a fallen Igarashi, then he could have survived. All of these answers disturb poor Kira, who, with a face full of anger and hatred, gives one last glance towards Isagi and leaves. With that out of the way, Jinpachi congratulates them on surviving and how they have passed the entrance exam of Blue Lock. With only 11 players left, in some challenges they would be friends, and in others they would be their foes. That's why they must always be on their toes. Moving on, the candidates go through a series of different training exercises to better test their abilities. First comes the running test and jump test, which, sadly to say, Isagi isn't the best at, but he does come across his teammates who are better at it than him. He meets Raichi Jingo, who has an impeccable stamina. Then comes Kuon, who can jump the highest as well. With the rankings also comes favoritism to better players who get better food and facilities according to their rankings and abilities. At night, Isagi wakes up with a jolt due to a bad dream of how he had betrayed Kira and threw his soccer career away after disqualifying him. Isagi perfectly knows he would be next to leave if he doesn't pick up his game to improve and be a better player. Picking himself up, he leaves to the training room to get better and comes across Bakira, the man who was sleeping during the tag game. The two leave into the training room where Isagi asks him why he had passed the ball towards him to finish the job, to which Bakira laughs and says because there's a monster in him. We now get a flashback of Bakira's life. Bakira is on the playing field. The ball is at his feet. He is very near the goalie and he could see his teammate asking for the ball. But Bakira doesn't pass and instead listens to the demonic voice in his head, which always tells him what to do. To this, Bakira tells Isagi that the demon told him to pass to Isagi, because just like him, Isagi also possesses a demon, and it can be seen through his eyes when he badly wants to win. The physical tests are updated and the players get their new rankings. Isagi gets the ranking of 274. Jinpachi appears again on the screen and is met by unhappy candidates of the Z group who want better playing facilities and food. To this, he tells them to work their way up instead of complaining all the time, because in Blue Lock, the best player is king, while the others have to work extra hard to be recognized. We're taken away from Blue Lock and into the hotel room of the best midfielder named Itoshi Sei, a genius midfielder in the well-known academy called Royale. The press bombard him with questions of wanting to start playing for Japan, but he degrades the Football Federation of Japan, calling them weak and not having a striker capable enough to receive his world-class passes. With that said, he storms out of the room with his agent following him. Midway, his attention is caught by a press conference conducted by the Japanese Football Federation, who are being questioned about the Blue Lock concept. Henri-chan abruptly answers all the reporters' questions, talking about her big plan to create one big striker. This doesn't sit well with the reporters, who start shouting at her. However, Itoshi cancels his plans to go to Spain for a match and says he wishes to stay and see with his own eyes who this special striker will be. Back at the Blue Lock facility, Jinpachi just throws in a new challenge where two teams will face off one another in a match. The winning team will stay, the losing team will go home. With 11 players left in every team, and all being strikers, this challenge seems impossible to play as a team, to which Jinpachi hints that previously soccer used to be played with strikers only, and so they must forget all their teachings and update their minds with new data. Team X will be versus Team Z in this new challenge. Team X approaches the field, all of them with demonic stares on their face, looking like they would eat Team Z up in seconds. Let's see how this face-off goes. Team Z plays a small game of rock, paper, scissors to decide who'll get the first pick, and luckily enough, Isagi wins. Isagi chooses to go for strike, while the other members, while pissed, decide on a different position. Isagi is now fully focused on on being the top scorer and getting his team to victory. His teammates share the same ideology of winning. However, we get to know that one thing still lingers in Isagi's mind, and those are the words of Jinpachi, a battle about creating soccer from zero. Team X approaches the playing field, a demonic hue appearing around them. Bakira could sense that Isagi is nervous and calms him down by telling him to enjoy soccer, since that was the reason it was made. Confident and relaxed, Isagi focuses his eyes on the prize, and that is to win. The whistle blows and the game starts. Isagi takes the ball forward and tries to make a decision to pass, but in seconds the ball is taken from beneath his feet, from his own teammate Raichi, who doesn't care at all about the team, only himself. Wanting to be the top scorer and move forward, Raichi runs with the ball, but it's also snatched from him by Kunigami, who, unlike before in the locker room, wants to also be the top scorer. The fight between teammates has started, and no one cares about working as a team. If you thought that was bad, it gets way worse as the opponent team also joins in the brawl of being the top scorer amongst themselves. This sight greatly disturbs our main protagonist, Isagi, who never thought soccer could be manipulated in such evil ways. But between the bodies of fighting teammates and opponents, one player emerges with the ball, and it is Shoei Baru. Baru races forward with the ball, dribbling and cutting between the players. Isagi blocks his path, but Baru eyes him with a murderous look and threatens him to get out of the way or face death. 1, 2, 3. Baru dribbles between Team Z defenders and finally shoots to score with a magnificent shot. He walks back to his team, a sense of pride and power covering his body, and says, "On the field he is king, and the ball his servant, made to serve him." Team Z still fighting amongst themselves for letting the goal happen, a sign that the team is weak. The game resumes, and this time, Igaguri steals the ball and tries to run and score. All Isagi could do in this case is again just stand and watch in horror. The ball gets stolen from him and the opposite team counterattacks. However, this time, they don't work individually, but as a team. Positioning their players accordingly and supporting Baru, Team X show their exquisite way of playing and adapting. Baru passes the ball to his teammates and they score again. Isagi finally understood what it means to create soccer from zero. In the case of Team X, they are creating soccer from one, and their number one is Baru, who has made them coordinated. 3 minutes on the clock remain, and they are 5-0 down. Isagi's team is exhausted and frustrated beyond measure. Isagi and Bakira take the ball to the starting line and plan to strike with just 2 of them to score only 1 goal before time runs out and turn their 0 into 1. The whistle blows and Isagi does a run for the goal line, while Bakira blocks the ball and waits for an opening. Isagi comes close to the goal, so Bakira releases the ball, which he controls with his first touch. But before he could shoot, Baru comes in front of him with his big body and intimidating looks, telling Isagi to not take his limelight, and blocks the way. Isagi, trapped, visualizes what his next move should be. Should he pass the ball to Kunigami and Raichi, who are coming from behind? Or should he take all the glory and score? He decides to shoot, but all at once everything slows down, and the little monster inside of him tells him to pass the ball to Kunigami. Like a reflex action, Isagi passes the ball, and Kunigami shoots with his first touch to score. They have now turned their 0 to a 1. The whistle blows, sounding the end of the game. Enraged at Isagi, Raichi barges into him and screams at his face for not passing the ball to him. Still in shock over what happened, Isagi could not come up with a logical explanation. Out of the blue, Baru appears and calls out to Isagi, telling him he's not fit to be a striker and has no talent because he froze on the spot. Raichi pushes him away and leaves along with everyone else, while Isagi sits on the ground in complete shock. Back in the locker rooms, everyone is angry and frustrated, especially Raichi, who has been making the most chaos. Nonetheless, the commotion dies down when Kuon shows his anger and explains to everyone that they still have a chance to progress further. The idiotic and sassy Igaguri asks him if he has a plan to make them win their next match, to which Kuon says he doesn't. Kunigami interrupts the conversation to imply he was only able to score because of the teamwork of Isagi and Bakira. A naked Bakira also agrees to this remark, calling it beautiful soccer. Finally, Isagi musters up the courage to explain how Team X turned their 0 to 1 concept by depending upon Baru, who led them towards victory, which is something they must be doing. If they all worked separately, their ego would be exposed and they couldn't score at all, which means they can never progress forward with that mindset. This conversation is left incomplete with the appearance of Jinpachi on the screen. He says that Team Y have conceded 8 goals against Team V, which means they still have a chance of progressing. However, despite the last-minute goal against Team X, they still haven't discovered how to turn turn their 0 to a 1. Jinpachi proceeds to explain the dynamics of football and how each player is valuable for the whole team to progress forward. Unlike baseball, where each player is given certain positions to stand, football is very different and has many spaces that can be used to win. In this case, he explains the importance of midfielders and fullbacks who control the game and create chances for strikers to send in the finishing touch to score. And the most important thing about a striker is that he must hold all the special qualities to be one: a great shooter, header, fast runner, and everything else. Finally, to win the next competition, they must realize what their personal and individual skills are and unlock them. With a bittersweet laugh, Jinpachi tells them to unlock their special weapon and use it to destroy their next team. Because if they don't, then they'll be making a quick exit from Blue Lock. Will Team Z finally win their next game and progress forward as a team? Why did Isagi not take the shot and instead pass the ball? What is this demon that resides inside Isagi-kun? Will Isagi finally turn his dreams into reality and become the world's best striker ever? We'll find out in the next couple of episodes of Blue Lock. And if you are a subscriber with notifications enabled, you'll find out soon enough.